Story 1. Probably not a popular idea, but I use those old blank compact disc cases, the 25 or 50 pack, to store my cutting wheels for my angle grinder because they can break easily. Apparently, not one tool company has ever provided a storage solution. So here I am. Story 2. Honestly, most things. Give me anything that won't break within a couple of years. And for the love of God, let me fix the things I've already bought. Planned obsolescence is one of the worst things we've ever done to ourselves. But I guess there's no need to worry about it because how else could the precious corporations possibly make a profit? Story 3. I'm old enough to have old friends and family members who can't be moved to another platform. Besides Mark Zuckerberg being perceived as evil, my feed is increasingly polluted with ads and agendas. Cleaning up my mom's feed is an ongoing nightmare. Story 4. Hard tap water. It's like liquid rock here. My hair hates it, plants hate it, aquariums hate it. Nitrates are usually too high anyway. My skin hates it, and so on. Even if I could do a whole filtration system, it feels even more wasteful to use it for everything, like my little reverse osmosis system. Story 5. Verizon FiOS. At least where I am, there are constant interruptions, and I'm pretty sure they throttle service in the evenings. But they are literally the only internet option. I don't know how that's even legal. Story 6. I work like a 10-minute drive from home, but it's not accessible by bus and takes an hour to walk there. Cars are so unbelievably expensive to own and maintain, and I'm always surprised how nobody seems to care or consider it. Story 7. Shout out to anyone who still has to use a legacy version of Internet Explorer, because there is software written for Microsoft Silverlight that no one wants to reprogram. Story 8. I feel most people will be answering with their cable and internet company. I actually have 2 providers in my building, so I can call up Astound Broadband every year and ask for the new customer promotional price. And when they start giving me pushback, I just mention that Comcast is offering a certain deal. If they cannot do it, I will just cancel and switch, and like magic, they are able to give me what I want. Competition is always good for the consumer. That is why they want to get rid of it wherever possible. Story 9. The monitors we use in labor and delivery are for monitoring the baby's heart rate. We always joke that if men gave birth, we would have state-of-the-art ones that always worked for us. Story 10. Tramadol. It is the only pain medication I can get that is not addictive, yet it barely touches my chronic pain. I have to jump through hoops to get it. I am limited in how much I can get by the state and my doctor, so I have to eke it out, and my pain is hardly managed during the day and not at all at night. I use alternatives like cannabidiol and methylsulfonylmethane, but still spend the majority of my life hurting. Story 11. There is absolutely better, but I am forced to use up 2 huge packages of Kirkland paper towels because someone in my household bought the wrong brand. It is ironic because I think Kirkland has the best toilet paper. Their paper towels are not absorbent, and you have to use at least double the amount to get anything done. Story 12. Emergency medical dispatch is a triage protocol for how ambulances get dispatched, and it's horrible. It literally has dispatchers asking people questions they aren't qualified to answer or that are strangely worded, and it gets priorities wrong way more than it gets them right. Unfortunately, it's also the only option on the market, so every place is using it, and it's so niche that the financial incentive for someone to introduce competition is basically non-existent. If you've ever wondered why an ambulance showed up with lights and sirens blaring for toe pain that's been going on for 3 days, or rolled up like it's no big deal to a stroke, emergency medical dispatch is why. Story 13. Mandatory application-based ticketing for shows. Constant bugs and software updates. Getting logged out while standing in line. No cell service inside some older venues. Physical tickets should still be an option. On that note, radio frequency identification cards at ski areas. The readers are very finicky, and as a result chairs go up empty or underfilled and lift lines grow longer. Stickerback tickets and wickets were not broken. Story 14. Adobe Acrobat PDF Viewer. It has one job and it can't even do that. The absolute rage I have over being forced to use this piece of software knows no bounds. Story 15. My employer's health insurance options. It's so crazy to me that we're dependent on the people who sign our paychecks for our physical health. It's always felt like a form of indentured servitude. Story 16. Not technically forced because I could always turn to other ways, but the whole point of a streaming service is supposed to be the convenience. However, in Canada, there are certain shows only available on the streaming service Crave. I will get it for a month or two occasionally before canceling it again because I can't stand it. My God, does this service suck? It struggles immensely to load shows, especially on my TV, which has a dedicated Crave application, so you'd think it would work. 75% of the time when I try to load a show, it gives me an error telling me that I have an ad blocker or a virtual private network. I have neither. All I can do to make it work is completely shut off my TV and try again, sometimes 5 or 6 times just to start an episode. Customer service seemed as confused as I was and never got back to me with answers. I know it's not my internet, which works fine for everything else, and I've had this issue in different cities and on different internet providers. I've had the no ads version and the with ads version. It's much more glitchy with the ads, which seems intentional, but at this point, I'll be damned if I pay them any extra. I've also noticed that it struggles or gives errors significantly more on popular shows with shorter episodes as opposed to shows with long episodes or movies. For example, trying to watch Friends or The Big Bang Theory is a nightmare, but it'd be a little easier to watch Game of Thrones or The Rookie or a movie. Story 17, this app. I really need to figure out how to hack Apollo to work again. The official Reddit application is awful, but they eliminated all the better ones. Story 18. Amazon plans to purchase electric parts because there are literally no stores that sell them anymore. I try to get what I can from other online distributors, but many times there's just no choice. Story 19. Proper adult diapers for individuals who have bowel incontinence are essential. The ones currently available are as basic as baby diapers were in the 1970s. We are an aging society, and many of us may eventually need this product. We need to improve. I don't need to use these, thankfully, but I've seen loved ones suffer as we've tried to create makeshift solutions with what was available. Leaks, rashes, and embarrassment are unacceptable. Story 20. Adobe Creative Cloud. I know there are some alternatives, but Lightroom and Photoshop are pretty much the only ones that do their job well. Aside from them hogging all the computer's resources and being extremely slow, there are no words strong enough to describe their customer service. In December, I went to cancel the subscription, but they gave me 2 free months and the rest of the year at a ridiculously low price, so I kept the subscription. The day before the free months were to end, I logged into their website just to see that the price they were going to charge me had quintupled. I decided to cancel, but I discovered they would charge me a cancellation fee of $200, which was pretty insane since the total of the original contract for a year wasn't even close to that. Their customer service kept insisting they couldn't remove the cancellation fee, regardless of whether there was a price increase or not, and insisted that the price was the same originally, which I had a screenshot to prove against. Still, they kept insisting on their stance and tried to sell me even more Adobe products at ridiculous prices. It took a total of 3 hours on the chat to get things sorted out and the service properly canceled without the fee, including multiple threats of legal action. Thank God I got it canceled before midnight when my card would have been charged. Story 21. YouTube. Every time they introduce a new copyright policy that inconveniences creators, they would migrate to either Vimeo, Dailymotion, Megavideo, or Blip. However, those sites are either infested with advertisements, have terrible buffering, a slideshow frame rate, or introduce policies that doom their existence. Story 22. Think about it. Nobody at the Department of Motor Vehicles is going to lose their job because of an unhappy customer. Nobody at the Department of Motor Vehicles is losing their job because they didn't reach their sales goal this month. So why should they try harder? Why should they care about doing a great job? Why should they care about making the customer happy? Their job isn't at risk. There's no incentive to do better. There is literally no competition. It's not like you can choose to go to a different company. Sure, there are different offices and some may be run better than others, but you have no choice but to use the Department of Motor Vehicles. There's only one agency. If there was competition like McDonald's versus Burger King, they'd try to win you over, they'd try to do better than the other guy, they try to keep you happy. Story 23. Reddit. It is unrealistically leftist, not a representation of the real world. You spend too much time on Reddit and it will start to influence you, insidiously so. Would really prefer a more realistic Reddit. Story 24. Most assistive technologies are in too much of a niche market to have enough competition to keep reasonable prices or good products. As a result, they are mostly all awful in various ways and insanely expensive. Story 25. For those who say Starlink or Comcast, where I live the only option is either 5G, which is too slow for me to do remote work, or Nextlink Internet. Nextlink made some kind of agreement with the homeowners association, so they have a monopoly on our neighborhood. So I use Nextlink. They are awful. We have many outages. Many are brief, but some last for hours. Their outage map is not updated quickly, and they just made it so you can now only see outages at your address. It used to be you could see all outages in every area Nextlink served. I pay for 1 gigabit speed but often cap out at 300 to 400 kilobits per second. I worked with them for days on this and there was no fix. Plus, they are expensive. We had to go to the business plan to get priority support, so we are paying several hundred a month for poor service. And yet, it is the only option we have. Story 26. NBA 2K. After NBA Live had stumbles starting with NBA Elite 11, 2K cornered the market. The last game Electronic Arts released was NBA Live 19. It had its issues, but I find myself having much more fun with the gameplay than I do with 2K. Since they're the biggest name in basketball, there are no other options. The same can also be stated with Electronic Arts and Madden because they literally bought the National Football League license for video game use and 2K hasn't been able to make a game since NFL 2K5. Story 27. Walmart. I wish I could afford not to spend my money there. I simply can't. I cannot protest by not spending my money there because there is no alternative for feeding my family on my budget. I hate relying on Walmart. Story 28. Not terrible per se, but as someone who prefers to buy music, I'm not an iPhone or Mac guy, so it was odd making an Apple account just to use iTunes. Every other major service has switched to streaming completely. Story 29. Any web browser on macOS. They all are terrible. Chrome has all the Google privacy problems. Chromium browsers all manage memory badly. Plus Arc is basically abandonware. Setting Vivaldi up is basically a hobby in and of itself. Safari has no vertical tabs, and several web applications don't work well with it. Orion's iOS browser makes managing tabs much easier than Safari on iOS, but Orion freezes so often on both iOS and macOS. SigmaOS tries to do too much natively rather than through extensions. It has 6 or 8 built-in password managers, but not Apple passwords. Firefox and Zen browser have freezing issues, and to keep mobile and desktop browsing in sync, I'd need to use Firefox's languishing iOS application. Seriously. I just want a stable browser with vertical tabs with normal levels of extension support that lists tabs on mobile instead of showing tiles of them. Mobile and desktop sync would be a nice plus. This shouldn't be that hard. Story 30. When I was getting my teacher certification, I had to take all of these Pearson tests. Those tests are like $110 each, and I had to take 4 of them. Story 31. Whatever soap and water mechanics are forced to use now after brake cleaner was banned in North America is harmful to you and the environment, but the substitute is awful. Story 32. Subscription music services in general. The creation of Spotify, followed by every single other music platform following their lead, will haunt me for the rest of my days. Pure loathing. Story 33. Trash phones with no features and massive gigantic tablet screens. We see you want battery life, infrared blaster, headphone jack, SD card, durability, reasonable pricing, and normal size screens, so here's a giant fragile tablet with 7 cameras for $2,000. Story 34. For many people in the United States, their internet service provider is a regional monopoly. It's a sad reality, and it means slow, unreliable internet at premium prices in most rural areas. Story 35. This is definitely a first world problem, but my Logitech Harmony remote. I have a Harmony hub with an actual remote, which always felt buggy and very clunky to configure. I'm worried because Logitech has discontinued the Harmony product line, so it's never going to get patched or revised, but no one has stepped in with a viable replacement. Story 36. Electric coffee grinder that I can actually afford. Want one that doesn't suck? $150, please. Want one that's actually good but still can't really do espresso? $300. Story 37. Very rarely, like once a year, I have to order a specific product from Amazon because I cannot find it anywhere else online, or when I have tried to order it from another site, it does not get delivered. Story 38. In my personal opinion, that would be the iPad I have to use for work. I'm a teacher, and the go-to solution for digital devices in schools in Germany is Apple products, mostly because of the device management, as far as I know. I have been using Windows and Android devices for 30 years. Never owned anything from Apple. And now this. I know it's not objectively a terrible product, but the way in which every single thing on iOS works just a little bit differently is annoying me. Starting with the keyboard layout or how you close apps or take screenshots.